Welcome to episode 448 of the Tilehurst podcast. Slightly later than planned. We've been slow this week, let's be honest, but we're here to review a pair of 2-2 draws. There's a bit of symmetry in those numbers there. One against Barnsley, one against Exeter, which has left us a little bit rudderless, I think, Ross.
A little bit rudderless. We were in we'll talk about it, but we were in a funny points position at the end of the first 2-2 that we saw recently, but by the end of the second one, sorry, a little bit late, and this is basically a live recording that you're getting today, so warts and all, everything. If I start mumbling on about something, you're just gonna have to deal with it today, listeners. Sorry. But hey, we're back. Maybe you're on your way to Northampton. God bless you.
I think it might be called off.
You think so? Because of the rain?
The rain is biblical here.
It's always raining in England. People know what to do.
It's been horrendous. Honestly, it's been exhausting.
Yeah.
Talking of exhausting, I'm still in my work pajamas, as you can see or hear. You can't hear, but you know what I mean.
Me too, which, if you're watching on YouTube, gives you a very, very good idea of the level of importance and professionalism live stream that Ben has to comport on a daily basis versus me sitting here in my hoodie and my hat, you know.
It's a wardrobe juxtaposition. How about that for a word on a Friday?
That was exceptional.
We're gonna get into it. Thank you very much as always to ZT Said Films. Hilariously, Valdi tagged the wrong podcast, which we won't mention, on Bluesky the other day, which was semi heartbreaking for us. But we move. And thank you, as always, to the Amazons, who seem like they're slowly coming out of their winter hibernation, which I think they even put on one of their social posts recently. So it's nice to know that they're using the words that we use to describe them on this podcast in real life. So
and we're, wonderful. Like you said, we're late. And my boss even said to me earlier this week, I would have done that, but it's January, So great. If you're saying that, that's me taking that and running with it. So it's January, things are slower.
By the time you listen to this, it will be January. So Ross is hoping to get this out within the next hour or so.
Yeah, we'll see.
We're still January, the 512th day of January, it feels like.
Yeah.
2 draws and talk about Northampton. So we'll be back after this short break. Right, welcome back to episode 448. If I went a bit robotic with my voice, it's because I haven't plugged my microphone in. I'm just using the laptop.
Sometimes you got to just roll with it, it's a Friday, you're in your work clothes and we're on the laptop. So, there's been a lot going on in Reading though, since we've last been here, which is always exciting. Which 2-2 do you want to towards first, I suppose?
I had a lot to say about the Barnsley game. And
okay.
I didn't have much to say about Exeter. So let's do Barnsley. Let's do it in chronological order.
Yep.
Haydon Roberts came in. I think he's probably, over the course of the 2 games, a massive bright spot for the club at the moment. He looks like a very, very good player indeed on the left-hand side. In terms of the result and the performance, I think we have to give credit for once to another team. I thought Barnsley were okay, actually. I thought they were very, very disciplined. I thought they were very, very well structured. I really like David McGoldrick as a player. I think he's, what is he, like 59 now or something, and he's still scoring goals. So
he's just savvy. He knows how to show up in the right spot, really.
He's clever. I mean, let's talk a little bit about the overall complexion of the team and the way the game rolled out. From your point of view, Ross, how did you see it overall as a 90-minute game? I don't know why I said 90 minutes. Stupid.
I thought the first half hour was awful. Just awful football. Not great. The thing that was most fun in the first half hour was probably trying to work out what was different with the team with Haydon Roberts in, and I think that Haydon Roberts is kind of the story in both of these games, in the way in which he's just kind of taken that left side and made it it made it much more operational, honestly. And that's coincided with Chirwa, being out on the right a lot more. He was able to cut inside across the field for one of the goals against Exeter as well. So, it's kind of changed how two of the most dynamic players, because I think, Haydon Roberts has come in and immediately shown that he is going to be one of the more dynamic players in this team. He's kind of shown how that can affect the formation and how that can affect the shapes going through the different phases. I thought it was, Gerald Dorset has obviously survived the team so far, and the new people, the new signings coming in. And I think that Ryan Nambe looks like a good signing as well. He kind of looks like a younger, faster Haydon in some ways.
Let
Go ahead.
me just jump in there a minute. And the reason for that is because obviously Dorset did stay in the team, which I think for a lot of fans was I say shocking. That's not the right word, but it was a bit of a surprise given the overall consistency of Finley bands since Liam Richardson's come in, and certainly over Christmas. Liam obviously sees something in Dorset that perhaps a lot of the fan base don't see.
Well, I can tell you exactly what he sees in him. It's a left foot, and that's about it.
Well,
yeah.
But were you surprised that he kept his place?
I was only surprised because I was surprised that he wanted Dorset in like a back four as a centre back, which to me feels like something that Dorset is maybe not quite at the level in League One for, to be in a back four, to be one of the two centre backs there. But obviously in the way that this formation moves and the way that, Reading move around the pitch, Dorset still spent a good majority of his time sort of in the left centre back spot because Reading push up into this 3-2 build-up structure. I'm not going to talk about it today, but next week I want to talk a little bit about I think they need to change the build-up structure a little bit, but that's a conversation for another time. But in any case,
you actually have one.
No, they use this. I'll just to briefly touch it. They use this 3-2 build-up system.
Just say it's crap.
It's a little bit crap because it leaves. I think it has some of the issues that Amarim's 3-4-3 had, whereby it leaves a bunch of players just kind of standing around at the back, twiddling their thumbs, and not actually affecting the play at all. So that was kind of an issue for me. But with Haydon Roberts, there were times in this game where you actually saw kind of like a 4-2 build up, like a 2-4, whereby the fullbacks will sit on that second line with the forwards. But I actually kind of thought Haydon Roberts reminded me a lot of Mark Cucurella in both of these games, in that he can play out wide, he can do that kind of like traditional fullback stuff going up and down the line, and we saw obviously him putting some great crosses. But something that he was trying to do in the first half hour of the Barnsley game, and then again in the Exeter game, is he was kind of trying to just sort of, especially when the ball was on the far side on the right, just nip in a little bit. And there were times when Kamari Doyle would go out further wide when the ball was on the right side, and Haydon Roberts would kind of come inside looking for that space, at the top of the box to maybe get a shot off or maybe be creative, whatever it is. But that's something you see Cucurella do all the time for Chelsea, whereby he will be back defending as the left back, doing all of those duties, but then pushing forward and trying to score goals and things like that, towards the middle of the pitch. And I just thought it was kind of interesting because we brought Haydon Roberts in. He's been playing left wing back, earlier this season. And that was kind of where I imagined we might put him, was at that sort of left wing back position. But instead, he's kind of come in and said, well, I like playing center back. And he's definitely playing on the left. He's definitely going up and down the left wing. Don't get me wrong. We've seen crosses from the left. But I think you're seeing that, if he feels that he's a centre-back, he feels that he can be more dangerous when he's in the middle of the field. And this has been a way in which Liam has taken this player, said, yeah, all right, I need you wide at some points, but you do have license to come inside the field. You do have license to be creative from there. So, yeah, I think the way in which he moves is really, really interesting. Yeah,
I mean, you make some good points there. Roberts, I think, is a really good player, and I think when he signed, I don't think anyone, particularly within our group, was like, "Oh, amazing! This is like a marquee signing." But straight away, when he was on the ball, he was moving up and down, and obviously got a debut goal, which is always very nice from anyone, let alone a defender who's coming into the team. The complete contrast to that, of course, is the first goal we conceded, which was absolutely shambolic in terms of a defensive lapse. frailty, whatever you want to call it, which is almost a carbon copy of the final goal, a week earlier at Leyton Orient. And
Yeah.
it's no surprise to see the club go out and go, well, we need two fullbacks, right and left. And obviously in this week have brought in Ben Ward as well. So good they put two ends on his name. We'll talk a little bit about Exeter in a minute, but do you see Ben Ward coming straight into the team on Saturday?
Oh, that's a great question. Ben Ward's numbers and just the general buzz about him down in League Two, Accrington Stanley, has been really good. So this kind of reminds me of the Porty signing a little bit, whereby they're kind of taking a player from, a league close to Reading's, and obviously with Porty it was Reading's league, who is, winning plaudits and kind of doing well. I think that there's a good chance that he will end up playing in the team pretty soon because, again, I think it's a left foot that Liam's looking for on the left side of defence at the moment. And I think that's why Dorset is keeping his position, a lot of the time. I was thinking about Dorset yesterday because I said he was the most improved player of 2025. And the more I think about that, the more I genuinely actually think that. I think that he has improved a lot, but he just does something like once a game where he throws up on his shoes, Dorset. And it's when you're a centre back, like that often leads to a goal or at least like a shot or something like that. Like in the Exeter game, he had like just this weird 2 to 3 minute spell where he made a mistake and then immediately passed the ball to a pressing attacker in the next opportunity. So I think that like Dorset probably needs a rest. I think he needs a rest. I just think he's been playing so much. Like, it kind of reminds me of Tom Holmes a few years ago where he was played so much all over the back four. And he's sort of spinning his wheels now.
It sort of makes sense, as to why they've gone out and got Ben in. I think he comes into the team against Northampton. Yeah. I really do. And I think when you look at, if we fast forward to Exeter on Tuesday, again, the defensive frailties were there to see, and the concentration was non-existent. I spoke to keep going about Northampton, but bear with me in terms of, what I've done this week. I spoke to one of their podcasts. It's all Cobblers to me, which I think is quite a nice podcast name. And I said,
do you know that's what we call? Sorry, real quick. Do you know that's what we call a crumble in the US? Sometimes some people call it a crisp, and some people call it a cobbler. Yeah. So you'd call it like a blueberry cobbler. Anyway, moving on.
Okay, I'll write that down. Blueberry cobbler.
Blueberry cobbler. Very nice.
And I just said we're too frail defensively, and if we were able to keep that balance and keep consistency, I think we will start to pick up a lot more points because the goals we've been conceding have just been absolutely ridiculous. I think that's done now for Haydon, really. I think long term, you won't see Dorset out on the left now because Roberts is in there. I think Nambe is a starting on the right. I think there's contention as to who goes in the middle. For me, I think Derek Williams is the best defender we've got. Obviously, I haven't seen Ben Ward play yet, but when he's fit, he comes into the team, and then it's a toss up. I think between Burns and Ward and O'Connor. I'm not sold on O'Connor at all. I know he scored against Exeter, and I know he had two bites of the cherry, and that was clever. It was poor marking from Exeter for that goal, but I just don't see where this supposed superstar that we got from Lincoln is. I've not seen that.
I can tell you what it is that will keep him in that position, though. If you want, it's again I think I'm saying the same point over and over again. So it's a right foot. Like, I think now what Liam's done is he's gone and got... I mean, you see Ryan Nambe. I looked at him, I was like, if I look like you at your age, I'm older than him, then I'd be very, very happy. Ryan Nambe is a physical...
He's a big boy.
He's a big boy, yeah. But like the thing that I got out of that, Haydon Roberts is also like clearly very physically, he's clearly very fit and like can get up and down really well. He had a really nice interception that he kind of like read as Exeter were switching the play across the field on Tuesday night, which was a good example of his athleticism. But for me, what's going on with the back four now is obviously it's going to move into these different shapes shapes and different phases, but there's going to be left-footed players on the left and there's going to be right-footed players on the right. And I think it'll be Nambe, Porty O'Connor, Ben Ward, and then Haydon Roberts on the left, basically, because that'll be a left-footed player. Ben Ward is left-footed, and then you got Porty on the right. Porty actually did play on the left a lot for Lincoln, which is kind of interesting. But even when he was playing, with Derek Williams in the team, he was always on the right and then Derek on the left. So I think that's what's most likely to happen. I can kind of see your points about Porty O'Connor. I do think he gives us some oomph in the air for sure, but he needs to be surrounded by faster players.
I think, I started the pod by saying there was symmetry in terms of the numbers. And when you look at the games, Barnsley, we went 2-1 down, managed to score late on. Again, Jack Marriott, wonderful player, got to be up there for player of the season, if not the player of the season,
Yeah.
given what he's contributed to the team and having a fairly lengthy period of injury as well. Obviously, Exeter, we managed to get ourselves 2-1 in front and then conceded very, very late on. When you exclude the Leyton Orient game and you look at Barnsley and Exeter as a grouping of two home games, are you disappointed with only 2 points from those games?
I'm disappointed that they weren't as ruthless as they have been in some other games. Like, I think that there were opportunities to score more goals in these games that went lacking, but also like a little bit concerned with some of the sort of half-hour periods where there's very, very little going on. But also, I'm kind of like I'm like, so Cardiff are top of the league by like quite a way, right? Like they're going to be fine, and they're probably going to win this league without really breaking a sweat. And I remember that game against them whereby they were just miserable for 45 minutes. They were utterly awful, and then they just kind of got ruthless for about 15 minutes, and that was enough to win the game. And I'm becoming convinced after, having watched 20 years of Championship and occasionally the Premier League, that League One just ain't that good. And like, you can play this kind of football that is a little bit mid for to use a young person's term, and then like still like put together like a 2 or 3 goals little stretch of the game whereby you just seize the 3 points basically. I think you need these like periods of control and then also these periods of, okay, now let's be ruthless and go. I will say I love football and I will watch anything. Like I don't mind watching Greece in a tournament who come to a World Cup to stink that thing up. But I will say I can understand right now of like any fans who have frustrations with like watching football in this much more like coach heavy era of like these like sort of systems that players are just coached to like not lose the ball and stuff. And then that combined with the fact that I just don't think League One players are that good does occasionally lead to these half-hour periods in the game where it really is. I think I called it one for the purists at one point during the Exeter game the other day. And that's even a game with like 4 goals in it, right? So it's like a couple little flashes of activity and then a lot of teams just trying to control the ball, which 100%. Is, yeah. Seemed like what Exeter came to do.
I described this in the week after the Exeter game had been done as going nowhere very quickly. Because, not only in terms of our play and our build-up, which for me is non-existent at the moment, but in the league, and for context, by, 3:45 or 4 o'clock tomorrow, we could, be on 40 points, and that would put us in 8th. That's still 5 points off 6th.
But after the Barnsley game... Sorry, go ahead.
After you talked about Cardiff, they are 10 points clear currently at time of recording of Bolton in 3rd place. 10 points. Yeah. Mm-hmm. None of those teams. I was over that festive period. I was really concerned about Stockport, and we played really well in that game. We beat them, right? They're 4th on 49 points. I totally agree with you about Cardiff, but that gap, Lincoln, they're 6 points clear of Bolton. The league is shambolic. Northampton can't buy a win, which is great for them because they're playing us tomorrow. They're still hanging in there, 29 points in 22nd. They could win tomorrow. They'd be in 16th. The league is weird. Absolute shambles.
Two after the Barnsley game, we were then in literal striking distance of the playoffs. So we were 2 games in hand, 6 points out, basically. And now I think we're 8 points out, with 2 games in hand. And you want points on the board more than you want games in hand, obviously. But yeah, it just cracked me up that after a kind of middling performance, we were able to come out and or like in the league table, we were still like well within playoff striking distance. I think if they have another run that lasts maybe a little bit longer than the Christmas run, then there's a really good chance this Reading team will make the playoffs. Because again, like we just have players like Savage, like Wing, like Marriott, like Pereira, who can just seize the momentum of a game in a 10 to 15 minute span, and just that'll be that for a League One game. Basically, they're just not going to be enough created. And so like that's why I get really excited when we see things from Liam that are repeatable, and kind of like things that we might be able to see over and over. And so this kind of moving of Chirwar out to the right and having Haydon Roberts on the left, as these opposing poles of wide attack in the last 2 games, those are my biggest positives. But there were some real issues with moving the ball in the opponent's half, especially in the middle of the field. I thought Kamari Doyle was. I don't know. Like, I mean, like he got the ball around the corner for Haydon Roberts to cross in for Will Keane's first goal against Exeter. I don't know what it is. I just want more from Kamari Doyle, and I said, in the Tilehurst chat the other day, but I really think this is true. I think Harvey Nibbs would be absolutely eating in this team right now. I think he would be having a whale of a time, and I think he'll be a fantastic.
He'd probably be League One Player of the Season.
Actually, I just think he'd have such a good time. Like, I think what the 10 needs to do in this particular formation is a ton of running to basically earn the right to play, and then move the ball quickly to the striker, for him to try and take a shot. Like I feel like Nibbs was so good at working with Smith, just understanding what Smith needed. And Nibbs just did Smith ran tirelessly, don't get me wrong, but Nibbs was putting in like upwards of 20 duels a game nearly every single week. So the man just moved around the pitch. And I just feel like there's just kind of like times right now where even with these two often wingers, or one of the wingers and one of the eights sitting in the half space to try to make some sort of central progression possible, we just do a lot of sort of horseshoe of sadnessing at times once we get into the opponent's third. I think we can get out of our zone pretty well, but we just don't quite move the ball quick enough, if the opposition are already set up in their half at the moment. And that's what I'd like to see change.
For me, it's just very stale, very, very stale at the moment. Watching both of those games, and obviously the Leyton Orient game was shambolic anyway in terms of the 5 goals technically that we conceded with only 3 counting. But these last 2 games have felt like a real slog. No point have I gone, we're all right here now. Like we're getting into a groove, and it just feels very, very stagnated, particularly in the middle of the park. And we need some creativity in there. So, we move on. We take the 2 points, but in my opinion, if we were going to push for the playoffs, it needed to be a lot more than that. And I think realistically now, and I hate to say it towards the back end of January, but I think that's probably the season done. We're not going to get drawn into relegation stuff.
I just don't know. That's my main feeling about everything. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's my main feeling about everything. It is for the first time in a long time. Like last year, I was pretty sure we would make the playoffs this time last season because I thought we had enough. I didn't think the league was that good. And I was wrong eventually. But, I think we took it pretty darn close.
We were this close though, Ross. We weren't a million miles off it. We were this close to getting.
We were this close. But this year, the first time since I started working with the Tilehurst, I got no idea how this season ends. I genuinely don't. Like, I could see it kind of like them getting like 1 or 2 more poor results and like it all just getting a bit stagnant and toxic and needing the summer before they can really get things going. But I can also see like Roberts and Nambe coming in and just completely changing the speed with which they can like attack down the wings and things like that, and suddenly Reading get going. I think we talk about it being stale and stuff. Go ahead.
Really, we're not talking 1980, Brazil here with Cafu and Roberto Carlos who really drove that team. Mm-hmm. Apart from that, teams aren't built on fullbacks driving the team from a creative point of view. Not
Oh,
not not
see.
at this point of the season, anyway.
I see. I think your fullbacks are super, super important to how you play and
They
and and,
will
and
be.
how
I
you're
just
getting
don't.
on.
I don't see him dragging other people with him. I just don't.
Yeah. I don't know because I think like the thing is right. It's like a fullback, sure, Hayden Roberts, but it's also a guy who's getting all the way up the field and presenting another problem for, the opposition to deal with. So I don't know. It's kind of a mix. But yeah, my general feeling is just like I'm really kind of clueless as to how this season ends right now. Like I can sit and analyze every game and kind of like tell you what I'm seeing, but in terms of the general themes, like. I'm really on the fence about where this season ends, and more so than I have been in years.
My concern as well is that Richardson is clueless as well in terms of how he, not long term, but how this season plays out.
Yeah,
Because he's inherited a team. He's gone to bat. There is no doubt in my mind that the structure of the recruitment, this window has been infinitely better than the 8 or 9 weeks they had in the summer to do it. There seems to be a structure. Okay, we're leaking goals. Fullbacks aren't athletic enough.
yeah,
Go and sort that out, right? No problem. I think Will Keane is a good addition for the period of time. Had he come in on a permanent transfer, I'd be a little bit concerned by that. But there is no doubt, from where I'm sitting, that Richardson knows what he wants to do. We just haven't seen that yet, and I don't think we're seeing his personality either, in terms of interviews, but also his stamp on the team. And I think in the cold light of day, when we do get to the summer, and I still think we'll be in League One at that point, he will have to go root and branch with that team, and he'll have to make some incredibly difficult decisions around players that we've relied on over the last few seasons, and go, this is the direction we've got to move in. Either transfer list them, move them out on a free, try and get nominal fees from them if they are under contract, and just go, we'll start again. And a little bit like Rob Coig, I said I couldn't judge him on 18 months, and I'm still sticking with that. I think this last month or two has been a lot better from the ownership group. But in terms of Richardson, I'm not sold on him at the moment, but I don't necessarily think that is his fault. I think it's a process, and when you come in and your remit is to just stabilise the team, which no doubt Christmas did that. What's the expectation moving forward? I don't think we're ready for Championship football. I don't think they're going to want to
no,
spend the amount of money that is going to be needed if we did go up, massive if, in the Championship to keep us up there. They are much better off making the kind of signings that they've made this month in the summer, but on a larger scale, and rebooting the team.
yeah. I've been somewhat surprised by how much activity there has been and I think that like especially as it pertains to Hayden Roberts and Ben Ward, because that's two permanent signings with contracts going for quite a few years, and if that was Liam really pushing that kind of thing, then I think those are some of our sort of first signs of what it is that he wants to do. And you could kind of see like signs of that with like Randall Williams coming into the team as well. And you can see the players that Liam has used in lots of different places. I thought Will Keane was interesting against Exeter. And I thought he was okay, but I think he really looks like
Right.
he's lacking match fitness.
So to wrap up the recap,
Okay, I was going to
was
say
Liam
something nice about
Richardson?
Charlie, but like you could, yeah.
Yeah, we know Charlie. Would you say that we were playing two up top on Tuesday?
I mean, it changes. Like we were playing two up top when we were out of possession. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially when it was in their third. Like Will Keane was on the right and Jack Marrett was on the left, and then it drops in when you get a little bit further back to allow Keane to come further back. I just thought he was lacking match fitness. It's a lovely finish, great finish. Like don't get me wrong, like lovely stuff. But I just thought he's lacking match fitness, and I just really, really think that in this particular system, that because Liam, a lot of like you're saying, I'm not sure I've seen Liam's stamp on the team. For me, Liam's stamp on the team is that he frees one of the fullbacks to go up and down, and he attacks through the wings, and then he wants to find a place for his team to shoot within the half space. Like that's to me what Liam is trying to do a lot of the time. And I think that because of that, the central space he abdicates a lot of the time, and you need someone who can just get through a lot of running there. For me, the obvious person in the team to do that is Charlie Savage. If, like Kamari Doyle is not the guy you're going to use for that particular game, I wouldn't be going to Will Keane, who I don't think is going to give you that much more defensively. I would be going to Charlie Savage, a man who can, get around the field, but then also has creativity and is a threat shooting outside of the box. I just think I think the team, this is why I say I don't know how they're going to finish, because I think that there are some real frailties, right? And the defense has been pretty poor all season. Our defensive record's not that great versus the rest of the league in terms of goals conceded. But we have now brought these fullbacks in. You'd hope that gets solved with that. And I think the biggest other issue on the team is we're lacking a bit of energy behind Marriott, and that's stopping the ball from getting to Marriott. A lot of the time he had 12 touches in the most recent game. And I think a lot of that comes from what is the second striker doing and can they get the ball to you? And it has been Kamari Doyle, and a lot of the time Kamari Doyle is looking around the corner into the half space. Again, he's trying to look wide and things like that. He's not looking central necessarily. I haven't seen that many great passes from Doyle to Marriott so far this season. I feel like Marriott gets most of his passes from wing. That's the guy that he's really kind of connected with. So for me, I would probably take Charlie Savage and move him higher up the field. And we were all quite impressed by Liam Fraser in terms of his calmness when he did come in and play a few weeks ago. I don't think he's the solution to everything, but I think if you're going to persist with this double pivot, then I think that moving Savage forward and maybe giving Kamari Doyle a few games of rest, I wouldn't mind doing that personally.
Well, look, I mean, it is all to play for on Saturday, of course it is. But I think anything less than 3 points, and that is mid-table secured. Quite frankly, I don't think we're moving anywhere really. A loss, you probably look to get another 2 wins on the board, maybe 3, to be really secure. But I think a draw and we're in, we're in mid-table security territory in January, which, given the previous years of up and down and everything else, I don't think that's the worst thing, but it just makes the rest of the season a little bit stale or pointless. That's ridiculous, but there won't be the same energy, and I think attendances will continue to drop, particularly at home. So we'll see what happens. We've got a couple of questions. We did put this out really late.
Sorry about that.
No, it is what it is. So we'll go into the listeners' corner after this short break. Right, welcome back to episode 448 of the Tilehurst podcast. Ian, good old Ian, how are you, sir?
How you doing?
I haven't seen you for a little while, actually, Ian. You've obviously been going to games. I haven't bumped into you. I normally do. Given where we are now after recent results, is this season now heading where many expected, one of consolidation with a view to pushing next season? We sort of answered the first part of that. Really,
many expected second, Ian. Many expected second. Yeah, exactly. Many.
I mean, it sounds a bit odd to talk about next season when we've still got a fair, chunk of games to play.
We've got so much of this season left.
But do you realistically we're going to end up in League One next season?
I just don't see again. You're much more convinced than I am of that. And I don't know. I need to go and look. I need to go and do the proper research on where we are in the league table since Liam came in. Right, because I think we're in the top 6 since Liam came in. For most of the run that Liam's been in, especially around Christmas when we were getting those updates, he was 4th in the league since he came in. So I mean, Liam is doing playoff form. It just may be too little, too late because the start was very poor. I do think that. Don't get me wrong. I do think these are points dropped, especially the Exeter game. The Exeter game is points dropped. I'm very happy that Porty O'Connor managed to block the Jaden Wareham shot, so that we didn't have to deal with yet another Jaden Wareham goal. But yeah.
Can I just say on that note, the obsession with Jaden Wareham?
It is odd.
Is mad.
Leave him alone. Yeah.
Well, it's not even that, but when players leave, I don't care. They're gone. They're out. This obsession with talking about him. Members of his family are interesting, to put it mildly, but the need to bring him up.
People on social media want engagement, and that that family
Right.
can't help but engage. Like they
Sure.
just always engage. So they know they can get a rise out of it, and that's where they go. Again, by the way, Jaden's having a good season, and
He's
more
right. He
power
didn't
to
play
him. And
on
I,
Tuesday. He had a stinker on Tuesday.
oh, see, Porty blocked a really good shot for him, but yeah, he wasn't good. But by the way, Porty O'Connor locked him up. Like Porty O'Connor went, all right, mate, you've got some like Michelin man pumped up muscles, but I'm actually a really big guy. So get in your box, which was quite nice to see. That's what Porty O'Connor does well. Is if there is a striker who wants to try and get in amongst it and cause issues, Porty O'Connor is quite good at shutting that down pretty quickly in terms of the back and forth. I don't know, maybe live stream.
Like a
But
human
anyway, yeah.
fly swatter.
He is basically a human fly swatter. Like I don't get me wrong. Like his feet are not as talented as he's one of the few footballers where his top half is almost more important than his bottom half. Forty O'Connor, because of the way that he can manhandle people. The Bruins used to have a player, the ice hockey team. They used to have a player called Zdeno Chara, right? And he was over 7 foot tall in skates. And they
Right.
kept him around for much longer than he could still like skate well and play well, because having a guy like that on the team is just like it's just like a whole area of the field. You don't want to go near there because you're gonna get roughed up. Anyway, where were
What
we?
about I feel about having you on this pod? To be honest with you, Ross, only keep you around
Yeah.
for the hilarity and the spin-offs. And talking of spin-offs, Ian's probably sat there thinking, "You're going to answer the flipping question, boys."
Yeah.
So, if I can get back to that, please.
Yeah.
What my hypothetical question was to you: if we are still in League One next year, hypothetically, what is the goal for this football club?
Well, I think if we're still in League One at the end of this year, then I think you have to kind of think about promotion and the squad once you get
Right.
there, right? Like I think that would be the thing for me. I think that like we keep talking about Oxford, and how like they went up a few years ago, kind of unexpectedly, and have stayed up, and have done a
Instead
pretty
again,
good
by the
job.
way, they're in a great run of form.
Yeah, yeah, like and it's impressive. Like honestly, it's impressive, and I think it kind of does show that like yes, I don't think the squad is ready right now for the championship, but like it is possible to build a squad in one transfer window that can, or at least the core of a squad in one transfer window that can really like push up or push your team up in terms of quality. But yeah, I think for me, like if they're still in League One at the end of this season, then Liam will know that playoffs are a minimum, and I think for if like I say, we are in League One next season, Liam will know that finishing in the top four, really not Champions League and things too, but like finishing comfortably in the playoffs rather than like sneaking in at the last day, basically, is kind of what I
Yeah,
mean
yeah.
here. Like it needs to be more of an automatic promotion challenge than a playoff challenge next year if Liam's going to keep his job for the entire year, basically. And so, with that in mind, I would think they would be starting to think about, which players we're going to have around for a while. And that's kind of why I've been quite excited by the age profile of Haydon Roberts and Ben Ward, because that looks more like long term planning. That looks more like, okay, we're going to have guys like we're still going to have old guys around. I think Porty will be here for a while. I think Lewis Wing will be here for the next 2 or 3 years. I think the one to watch next summer is going to be Charlie Savage. I don't think that he wants to go, but I also know that we've just sold Andre Garcia, or looks like we're going to sell Andre Garcia to Club Brugge. So I mean, obviously the club needs to
Who?
fund
Club what?
club. They're called Club Brugge. Did you know this? So
It's Bruges, actually. But
no, it isn't. That's the thing. So
shit.
the Club Brugge are in Bruges, and they know that this is a thing. Like they you can look it up. Like they are legitimately Club Brugge. I know quite a lot about them because they signed a New England Revolution player a few years ago, and he ended up doing terribly for them, and somehow got a transfer to Inter Milan. But anyway, fun Champions League team. Yeah. But anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if that is kind of like he's going to be one of our only saleable assets. So I wouldn't be surprised if he is one that they take a look at. But in any case, like I would be thinking long term, and I think Charlie Savage is probably good enough to play in the championship. So you'd probably want to hold on to him.
I don't really know how you've managed to not answer the question twice.
I thought I answered the question that time.
You didn't. What did you say?
Why?
Players minimum.
No, I said they need to they plan for next. Yeah, like if what they'll be doing is like planning with a view to their squad being good in the next season as well, which is what we're doing with like Haydon Roberts because he's what 23, 24. So yeah, that's what we'll be doing. That is an answer.
Well, I think we've done that one, Ian. We've taken a good what
Yeah,
chunk of time on that one, so hopefully you got something out of that because I didn't. Dan Moore, hello Dan. Uh,
man.
I would like to know if you think that there will be any more incomings for Reading FC before Monday's transfer deadline. Is it Monday? Of course, because they run it to the
Yeah,
next.
yeah.
Yeah, Monday. God,
What do you
I
want
didn't even
to
tweet.
talk about? What do you want to talk about instead of this? We don't want to actually answer the question.
I got a new. Do you want to see my new Pokemon card that came today?
I mean, always. You sound like
It's
Logan
well
Paul.
good. It's from the
Yeah.
new set. Look at that.
Ooh,
It's
very,
quality,
very
isn't it?
nice. That is pretty nice.
Stick that in a binder
Uh,
later.
okay, I do like a hollow.
Do I think there will be? I don't know. Quite frankly, I don't think anyone knows in this modern age of football. What I would like to see, I think, is another striker, but I don't know if you're going to get anyone fantastic who's going to want to come and play second fiddle to Jack Marriott and then Will Keane. So I think that's potentially blue sky thinking in terms of bringing another one in.
Hmm.
What I would say is that we need some creativity in that team. And I've said time and again, I don't think Doyle is the answer to the question. And the question is, how can we be more creative? Whether or not they've gone out and really cast their net wider to creative midfield players, I don't know. But that would be my dream in terms of bringing someone in between now and Monday.
Hmm.
What about you? What do you think?
I I think if they're going to bring anything in, for me, it would be getting somebody who can play higher up the field, who can really like add some legs to the press and stuff like that. Because I just think we're a little bit too easy to play through at the moment, and that kind of leads to periods where it takes us a while to get the ball back. Like I noticed there was a good like 15-minute period where Exeter were just like recycling possession against us over and over again after they scored their opener, and it just really took us forever to get the ball away from them. And again, that's kind of something where I feel like Harvey Nibbs could help out. But again, like I don't. As I've said many times before, I don't think you solve every issue in the transfer market. So I wouldn't be surprised if they don't bring anyone in to solve that. Because again, I think you can solve that issue with Charlie Savage with what you have. And obviously, like if Andy Rinomhota comes back, then maybe we'll have another midfielder. It's really hard to judge that one. And
It's
then the other
difficult.
one that's hard to judge right now is, has Mark Omani actually gone back to Brighton?
Well, you see, this is the contentious thing. The last I heard of it, Liam Richardson said he was still around the club, but
Yeah.
I don't think he can be, to be honest.
Is very, very odd. I get the sense that with both his loan and Finley Burns's loan, there was some sort of like rumblings that both were going to be sent back, like at the start of January, and now it seems like they're either not sure or what. But it seems like that kind of decision that they would be, handing them back or whatever, had at least filtered through to the players. Because I think we mentioned that Marco Mani took the Reading stuff off his social media profiles and stuff. So whatever's going on with that
Yeah,
decision, I'm not sure. And I'm sure it's related to registrations too. So I'm sure it's more complicated than what the club are doing or not doing. But yeah, it's a bit of an odd one.
if you're Brighton, what's the point of keeping him at Reading? You might as well just take him back to the club and put him in under 21s or whatever football.
Yeah.
There's no point. There's no point keeping him at Reading because he's your player and he's not getting any game time and he's not likely to get any game time now because the pecking order would be Marriott, Keane, Long Kelvin.
Calvin.
I would
Yeah.
have said Sean Patton, but he's gone out on loan to Aldershot today, which is a good move for him.
Yep.
But Marco Moni's he's not been around the squad. He's not looking like he's going to get a look in. There's no point in letting him stay, and he won't be a Reading player by Monday. No way.
You don't think so? See, that's the thing. I think if Marco Mani is gone, then maybe they'll bring someone else in. I'm not 100% sure what that would be. It would be nice to have a target man to have something a little bit different. But Ben, as you said, and I completely agree, no striker is going to choose to, come into this team when they know that Jack Marriott is going to start every single game that he's fit for. So it is a hard sell. Like strikers are not like goalkeepers, whereby they can come in and they're like, yeah, it's fine that I'm not starting. Like I'm part of the goalies union and I want to start, but like I'm supporting the starting goalie right now. That's fine. Strikers are not like that. I don't
No,
think so.
exactly. They're a different breed.
They're very
Um,
different breed. Like you need a little bit of different grey matter between your ears to be a striker or a goalkeeper, really, don't you? And goalkeepers are just a different breed, man.
yeah, I mean, trust me, I live with one, and he's 10 years
Yeah,
old.
wow.
So
There you go.
he's
I
he's
thought he was
he's
a
different.
striker.
He is a striker, yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was saying goalkeepers are a
No,
different breed.
he's not a goalkeeper. No way.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
No. Um, RFC Martyr, new players in and performing well but needing to bed in. Results since Richardson came in have been very decent, but defensively we're leaking goals at a
Yeah.
very worrying rate. Given where we are in the table in the season, do you still think a run to the playoffs is realistic? That's kind of been the theme of the pod, really, that particular question, hasn't it? I mean, I don't think they are realistic now. My issue is that I don't think there is enough consistency in this team or in the league to be able to build a set of results that give us a platform to move forward with. We will continue to pick up points at home. I don't see us dropping too many points at home in terms of losses moving forward. Away form is obviously not good and hasn't been for a number of years at the football club, and mentality wise does need to change, despite the fact that away attendances have rocketed at the club over the last few years. So, for me, I don't think there is consistency to be able to build for the playoffs. But I know you don't feel the same, Russ.
I just think like at the end of the Barnsley game, it was in our hands, and that's crazy to me because we just haven't been that good this season. And again, I think that there are major issues, and I agree that the consistency in the team is not great. I think a lot of that comes down to that sort of second striker role right now, and how it's operating. I do think that results will continue to improve with. I feel like I've seen enough already from Roberts to say like, yeah, he's going to immediately make us improve because of what he can do, on both sides of the ball. So it's just kind of, I don't know, like again, like I'm not like saying we're definitely going to be challenging for the playoffs in the final weekend of the season again. But I mean, like, if we can continue to solve issues that we've had with our team, and really kind of solve some of those leaky defensive issues that you've mentioned, we've been poor defensively under both Noel and Liam this season. That's going to be a huge part of it. But now I think that you're going to see a settled back four for quite a while. And that's really going to change, the communication levels and just the general comfort level of the defense. And if the defense is feeling better, I think that, ahead of them as well, those players will feel a little bit more encouraged to go forward and press. They'll know that they've got a stronger foundation behind them to be able to get, really push into other teams and things like that. So, yeah, I just think that like issues are being solved slowly. I don't think Liam is as good tactically or modern football style as some of the people who were available at the time that he was picked. But I can see what he is doing overall as trying to start a culture, and that has kind of. I think you can kind of see the culture that he's trying to create through like not talking about injuries and like having having a lot of respect for guys that can actually like run around and earn the right to play before they actually play and stuff like that. And I think that there's rumblings of a culture I can get behind in there. There's a little bit of that siege mentality almost about it. But yeah, it's also the kind of thing that could turn toxic, I think, if results just aren't there. So I think the way in which Liam has set out his stall means that results have to follow or he can become unpopular, like with Rotherham.
Mm.
Yeah, isn't that the
I
case for
think
every amateur?
I think there is going to sound like someone else, and completely contradicting myself from the last one. But in terms of that patience element, like I don't see what the point would be if we're going nowhere in mid-table by let's say next weekend or the weekend after, mid-February, Valentine's Day when Wickham come to town, what would be the point of removing him? Like give
Yeah.
him another transfer window in the summer, and I'm not sold on him at all. I really don't know, but I'm definitely not in the camp of he's got to go now. I'm happy for this to play out because my main concern under Noel Hunt, and we were very open about this, was that we were going to get relegated. If we carried on the way we were going,
Yeah.
there is enough in this team since Liam's come in to show we can pick up wins and results, and we can do okay by doing the bare minimum in this league, and I think that will be the case. So there isn't that consistency element, building that I can see after Christmas. Yeah, we all got. I mean, I've definitely got carried away. I was like, buy me a ticket on the playoff train and all this sort of stuff. But the last three results have shown that we're way off that consistency wise. Although ironically, we've just drawn the last two games 2-2. So how's that for consistency? But in
What
terms of the results we want to see, it's not there.
if this was the no hunt era, we'd be referring to this as an undefeated homestand. Like, oh,
We
we
would,
came home.
yeah, we would.
Yeah. So I do think that, like,
I don't see the toxic element coming in. I see the apathy coming in, and I think there
mm,
is a lot of that around the club. Right now on the 30th of January, I think there's loads of apathy around the football club because people are tired from the last few years, because people felt we would be in a better position league wise now, despite what Rob Cowick's saying in terms of this is exactly where I thought we would be. So I think that the apathy is sometimes worse than anger and toxicity because people just give up. And that's my worry, is that if we are mid-table and we look like we're staying mid-table for the rest of the season, people won't be coming back until next year. They'll just go, well, I'll save my money, thanks. So, we'll see. Have to see how that pans out, really. We go to Northamptonshire tomorrow. This will be tomorrow because if you
probably
listen to it on
today when
Friday,
you're listening to this.
or probably today. So we're
Yeah.
going to talk about that in the preview right now. Right, welcome back to the final part of episode 448. It is absolutely chucking it down here in Tilehurst. It is biblical rain, I
This
would
is
say.
Ben's campaign to get the game called off, is what's going on here.
Looking forward to going. I am looking forward to going. I just, it's been bad. The weather's been really, really bad.
Okay.
I don't know what Northampton's ground staff are like and what their pitch is like, but we'll see what happens. See what happens.
Yeah.
Um,
Just real
there's
briefly, Ben, while you're talking about weather being bad, I'm dealing with 2 feet of snow and minus 18 Celsius at the moment over here. So it's insane. Like I'm sure you guys have seen images and things of Minnesota as well in the last week,
yeah,
and that
yeah.
has also been insane. Like how cold it is. This is one of the worst winters I can remember in quite a while in the US. It's been like 5 years since I've seen this much snow. But anyway, I
That's
digress.
horrible. That's horrible.
Northampton, what a rubbish team.
Yeah, it won't be minus 18 tomorrow. I'll tell you that. So
No.
if we go from Boxing Day, which is a good measure of where they are currently, lost 5-1 at Burton, then lost 2-0 to Huddersfield, 0-0 against Stockport. Stockport had a terrible Christmas, didn't they? Drew 0-0 with
Yeah.
Northampton and then came to us a couple of days later and we beat them 1-0. Bolton 0, Northampton 0 on the 4th.
It's another team, by the
They
way. But sorry, Ben. Just real quick. That's another team doing well, where even the fans think that they're playing like garbage. Like their fans don't think they're doing very well this season. The league is not that good. Like they got used to watching that, like slightly better than that level of football, and they're like, "Oh, this League One football is rubbish." Yeah, it's League One. Like, yeah, happens.
then they beat Walsall in the Football League Trophy round of 16. They lost to Wickham 2-1. Lost to Blackpool 2-0, and in the week lost to Rotherham 2-1. Late goal there, I believe, in the 84th, 85th minute, having equalised. No, they were in the game and then lost, conceded two without reply. So
All right.
it's not looking good for Northampton. And when I spoke to Danny from It's All Cobblers to Me podcast in the week, I asked him, off air, I said, do you think you're going to stay up? And he said it's not looking good. They're not scoring enough goals. They're in a really poor run of form. He made the point that Kevin Nolan, who I hate, by the way, is probably the manager most in League One that needs a win. So perfect timing then that we rock up to their ground
Yep.
for them to beat us. Do
Dr. Liam
you,
on his way.
we talk about this every week. Yeah, we talk about this in terms of changes. I think we're kind of intrigued to see if Ben Ward comes in. I don't think there'll be
Yeah.
any more changes unless there's injuries. Do you think that there is enough in this team to give a positive reaction? And do you think we will be able to start the game in the first 15, 20 minutes in a positive vein of form to be able to go on and win the game tomorrow?
I do. I think we should win this. So, for a little bit of context, Northampton are the second worst goal scorers in the league. They really do not score many goals. They've scored fewer goals than games played, which is obviously absolutely shocking. And I'm sorry to those crumblers up there or whatever they're called, because that is a miserable season to have to watch. I think that Liam needs to set up the team here to go out and try and score 3 goals. Because if they do that, Northampton are done. There's no way. They're not going to score 3 goals against Joel Pereira. So I think if Reading can kind of attack this one, it's silly to say in the way that they attacked Plymouth, because obviously Joe Rose got sent off in the first 15 minutes in that game. But I think
There
that
was
this is a
there was an
game where we,
aggression in that game to start with, wasn't there? That's what I'm saying
yeah.
from the off. It's very rare we've seen in this season where we just go for it. Barnsley, I thought we were very passive in the first 15, 20 minutes.
Hmm.
Exeter, iffy. But, in a lot of these games we're seeing, we're allowing the ball to go sideways. We're allowing the ball to progress very slowly moving forward. There isn't the let's try and really batter them in the opening 15, 20 minutes to get a foothold in the game on purpose.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think that this is one where we need to really, again, like pull out, like we are trying to score goals. I think that So I feel like Liam like is capable of setting up this team to go out and score goals, and he's capable of like setting up the team to go out and be calmer. And sometimes those two things don't come in the same game. And I think that this is one whereby we just need to really be attacking this one like it is one that we can go out and win from the off. And I think especially if you can get, if you can get ahead in the first 20 minutes in this game, I think Northampton will really, really struggle. And then obviously they'll have their fans on their back as well. I mean, this could be Kevin Nolan's final game if all goes well for us. So you could get a very nice anti-Kevin Nolan present. But you did copy his skiving off at Christmas routine this year. So I see you've learned some things from the big man.
Try to, yeah. I just think
Yeah.
he's an idiot. Like when I say very very brief rivals with West Ham in the old Championship days when we went up and they were battling to get out of there. He just came across like he was too good for everyone, and
Yeah.
the arrogance was not good. So
I forgot how much of a factor he was in that season. That's a really good point.
yeah,
Yeah.
just an
Yeah.
idiot, just an idiot.
He's an
I
old
didn't
school
like him.
football
I
man.
didn't. I didn't like him at Newcastle either, but I don't like Newcastle particularly anyway. So I think this is a really really important game in our season because I think we talked all the way through about the possibility of playoffs, and if I said this earlier on, if we don't win the game, I think that is playoffs over for us. I really do, given how the league is going and some of the fixtures that are knocking around tomorrow. So I think, backed by 1,500 Reading fans. No tickets are available, by the way, for Reading fans, so please don't travel because you will not be able to buy on the gate. Same with Wimbledon next week as well when we review that one. So it's it's a tricky game to call. I think we win though. I do think we win tomorrow,
Yeah.
and then that kind of leaves the season a little bit kind of wider open for us, certainly for another couple of weeks anyway. Yeah, look, I mean, we need a reaction. We're due a win. So will Northampton. I don't think it will be a particularly boring game. I think there'll be two teams that really wanna get the 3 points. So we'll see what happens. We
Could be one of those fun games where by the end of it, if Northampton are particularly poor in this game, both sets of fans are cheering for the same team because they want their manager gone. So could be funny.
yeah, exactly. 2 o'clock kickoff though, Ross. You're going to be all right with that tomorrow.
I miss all the games these days because I'm coaching early on Saturdays, which is frustrating. So, yeah, if you've missed my ratings the last few weeks, I do apologize. But duty calls, and the next generation of footballers ain't going to coach themselves. God, that sounded proper. Oh, that sounded awful. I sound like Ted Lasso, but worse.
Well, you did that the
Comic.
other time when he did the "Oh, you either win or you learn."
Yeah, well, no, that's fine. I'm allowed to be cheesy. That's okay. I'm all right with that one. So anyway, let's get out of here. I gotta go back to work.
I'm going to go and have a beer. It's Friday night. Friday night
Yeah,
in Reading, in
have
Thailand,
fun.
on RG31. So that's not a nightclub, by the way. It's just a postcode I live in. I will. We will. I will. It's not about me. Are we going to do Monday? Are we
Yeah,
committing that? Right,
yeah,
we'll
yeah,
commit
yeah.
Monday. So we'll see you Monday. So it's a quick turnaround for episode 449, which is next on the agenda. This has been 448. Fingers crossed for a win. Let's go and do it and get it done because we desperately need one. Have a lovely weekend. Stay warm. Stay safe in the snow if you are abroad. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that was good. I liked that. Stay
Cool.
safe out there, guys. It's cold.
Peace out, Ross.
Peace out. See you soon.
And come on, you us.